The gods never halted their work creating the world, and with the benevolence of indulgent parents, they decided to create magic. It was to be a gift to all the intelligent creatures, meant to ease a life of toil and make survival a less arduous task. When they had finished creating their gift, they presented it to the humans and the Char, the Tengu and the dwarves, the Minotaurs and the Imps, and all the races of the land. But the gods had not counted upon one thing: greed. Wars broke out immediately as the magical races fought for dominance. So much destruction was wrought that the humans found themselves at the edge of extinction. When all seemed lost, it was King Doric, the leader of the united human tribes himself, who made the long trek to Ara, the city of the gods on the Orient Peninsula. He gained an audience with the creators and begged them to help, to stop the wars and bring peace to the land once again. The gods heard his pleas, and they intervened. The forging of the world was complete. As their final act, the gods gathered back their gift of magic from all the races and trapped it inside a tall stone. They smashed the stone into 5 parts, 4 equal but opposing stones of magic and 1 keystone. Without the keystone, the other 4 couldn't be reassembled. The gods told King Doric that since he had asked for the peace, he and his descendants must carry the burden of protecting the stones. As an additional precaution, they used a drop of King Doric's blood to seal each of the stones. Then the stones were dropped, one by one, into the volcano off the southern shore of the Kingdom of Krita, and the gods left this world forever, confident that they had balanced out their gift and circumvented greed.
We need new tactics.
We
Char in the
stand for
front,
the weak
a
and
Sora in the back.
helpless.
Short guys in the front. We can fire over their heads.
Hey, no fair. How about we maintain the status quo?
Today is a pretty big part, honestly. A big threshold, a big major moment for most casual MMO players and people that kind of look in from the outside. What's the main thing that they always think about? Leveling. And today, part 82, it's funny because our combat level was about the same amount as the parts was for a while there. Today we are hitting level cap. So at the end of the last part, Bract was on the cusp of 47. I've put him from 47 to 48 to 49 right now. And we've got some cool things upcoming. We will be reaching level cap in just a moment because frankly that's what the story is actually asking us for. Very quickly after the battle for Fort Trinity, you need to be 80 to keep going. And there's various different things we can talk about when we get there in terms of exploration of the game and whatnot, but we certainly do want those combat levels to be able to take on the Deadlands of Ore. So yeah, very quick recap here. Let's go to our story journal. Ton's skill and bravery allowed us to sink the bone ship at the Maya Sea, but it cost him his life. When a mechanical failure prevented the charges from detonating, Ton put himself at risk to make sure they went off. He succeeded, but was unable to get clear of the blast. His sacrifice saved hundreds of lives, but that won't be much comfort to his friends, his family, or those who fought beside him. It's kind of interesting that we hear there that he saved many lives, because, I mean, we don't really see how that's true. The ship was...
We need assistance. The road is plagued with corruption.
It was more just for a morale boost, wasn't it, than anything else? But hey, okay, Ton, I appreciate the gesture and what you were trying to do. So yeah, we're going to move down the road a little bit here. We've got some players around. We obviously already spoke to that scout. And we do want to sort of get a move on because we want to save Fort Trinity, which will be down these roads. Again, some of the most luscious green areas we'll find in these later maps of the game. But there's quite a few interesting things to look at here too. We'll become quite familiar with this road since we're going to have to walk back up through it later with one of the large packed assaults. But yeah, there's some other minor events and things to show. First of all, I guess these risen rotmouths that are blocking the road and of course corruption everywhere and are summoning tons of undead. So how about we wipe those out with our flamethrower? See you guys in a sec. Christ, that event was not easy. That took ages. I don't know whether it's that our gear's getting really underleveled now. Look, the Crusaders can start patrolling again now. But wow, that was really actually quite challenging. Brack's going to have to be kind of careful, I think, to be honest. Oh, we got a black pearl as a drop. That's kind of cool. So, yeah, with the road clear, you can see Fort Trinity just a little bit down there. We got the Plinth Timberland. Going to grab this waypoint. But before we travel on any further, I want to show you guys a really big secret of the game, and it's in many ways even more secret than like the Cubular Falls we saw, many of the jumping puzzles, and other various things we've shown so far. It's also a massive lore bomb right here in the last region of the game, at the end of, well, right on the cusp of the last arc of the game. So, on the road, coming from Sparkfly, if you're on sort of this traditional entrance, if you will, to this map. I wonder what this Crusader says now that we've beaten this. You'll find that there's this cliff here on the northern edge. Now, if you look very closely at the cliff, what you can find, he says, be wary, we're under constant attack from the risen invaders on this shore.
Thank the gods you came along.
Seeking to disrupt the Pact invasion efforts. What can you tell me about their plans? Well, that Fort Trinity to the south is the main base for the Pact's assault on Zaitan, and our forces are invading Ore from there. Okay, and then he'll give us information about the sieges, which we'll do in a second. But if you look very closely at the cliff here, you'll notice that the hanging vines here are obscuring what is a very subtle, small entrance to a cave. So this is really, really well hidden. Again, I'll bring your attention to the fact we're a tiny little Asura. Imagine if you're a big Norn and you couldn't even really look this low that casually. Very, very, very obscure little thing. But as we walk through, you'll notice the lighting starts to change. It starts to become really quite obscure and off. And as we go through, a bit magical, you find even more deep crevices. And we're actually going really far north now from the map back towards Sparkfly. As we come in, you'll notice it starts looping us around in a ring, and at the far side of the ring, there's a small bit of jumping we can do to come to this mysterious door here. Now, this is really cool. So why is this so hidden? Why do I claim this is more hidden than most things? First of all, it's on a late game map. Second of all, it's on a map that has no hearts, so people don't tend to spend so long here. They just kind of zerg around. Third, there's no real events near here. Obviously, we do have some metas sort of close, but not all the way up here. But most importantly, there's no achievement to get here, so people don't come here, you know, guided there because they're looking at guides online. There's no point of interest here. There's no waypoint here. There's nothing for map completion. There's not even a unique area of the map. So at least with Cubular Falls, this like was a thing that unfogged, so players go here. There's no reason to find. So no reason anyone really ever has to scramble against that wall to see where that sneaky entrance was. But it is a place, and there is a mysterious glyphic mechanism on the door here, which you might recognize if you're a Guild Wars 1 player. Now remember, I've said it many times, Guild Wars 1's map and Guild Wars 2's map are lined up perfectly. What we are looking at is a landmark location we could visit way back in the Eye of the North expansion of Guild Wars 1. Eye of the North obviously setting up big plot points for the sequel. Way back when, we could come to this area of the Tarnished Coast, a place called Gad's Encampment. I think it was either here or it was down here. And you could travel through the map, and one of the main areas of the campaign for Eye of the North took you to a place called the Bloodstone Caves, a mysterious set of caverns below the surface here on the borders of the Shiver Peaks Mountains, where the Asura and a human necromancer named Livia were doing research into the Bloodstones. So, this, here, towards the end of the game, we start dealing with really big stories that are very important. Okay, now remember you got the ancient races, and we've heard snippets about some of them, mostly the dwarves we know about and what they've been doing. One of the ancient races, known as the Seers, once upon a time, way back during the prior Elder Dragon Rising, constructed these things, the Bloodstones, to seal away magic. Now, how exactly that happened and why that happened will be stories we will be telling later. But where one of these shards of those great devices ended up was deep underground here. Now, the race, the people responsible for all of the defenses of the Bloodstone, you know, like this door and like some of the other inscriptions and things we find in the original game as people descended to try and get to the Bloodstone deep in the caves. We don't know anything about that race. Were they the Seers or something else? Well, those are all just big mysteries. What we do know is this. 250 years ago, Brack's ancestors, the Asura, were in this area of the world looking at the Bloodstone. And since then, We don't really know what happened to it. Did the Asura haul it off? Did they do something with it? Did they port it through an Asura gate? Well, all that tells that tale now in Guild Wars 2 is this empty door. You might think that that's laziness on the part of the developers, by the way, that there's no quest, nothing that takes you here or any reason for it. But it's not really laziness. The point is that they didn't have any express plans right when the game out to do anything with this. There's obviously a story to tell, but they still took the time to add the big secret and come all the way over to this very special place. The Bloodstones are an important part of this story, and we'll get more of them as we start traveling in the end now. And I thought this would be a very appropriate and cool place for us to finally hit level 80. So, I know you've been looking at it. Here's our rewards for level 79. Okay, this is where the next chapter of the story unlocks, which we're about to access. The game teaches us about ascended gear here, that we can begin crafting ascended gear that we'll only be able to equip at max level, level 80. Ascended gear is distinguished by its pink name and its improved stats, which are even higher than exotic gear. Congratulations. So that's at this level. And to craft a lot of ascended gear, you need these items: Imperial Fragments, Dragonite Ore, and Bloodstone Dust, which generally you're rewarded for doing a variety of content around the game. So you get these fragments for doing dungeons, you get these for spending time in the open world, you can get these for doing big world bosses or world versus world. So it teaches us about those and gives us one of each. That's level 79. But now that we're at the door, let's hit level 80. Okay, so there you go. Level 80 unlocked. And it's teaching us about a lot of things here. So we have something called Elite Specialization, something called Fractals of the Mist, something called World versus World. PvP, I've already shown you these two. It's telling us about Living World, it's telling us about Raids, and it's giving us an Obsidian Shard here, plus some Spirit Shards. Now, this is just a big bomb of information you guys don't have to worry about too much right now. I'll give you the most relevant things. So let's accept those. The Obsidian Shards we'll talk about very soon in an upcoming episode, so let's deposit those. Spirit Shards I already talked to you guys about. We know that those are used in crafting Mystic Forge recipes. And if you remember, I said this too, now that we're at level 80, in theory, all the experience we earn will start generating more Spirit Shards for us. So you can still keep leveling, if you will, but instead of gaining combat levels and attributes and stuff, instead you get Spirit Shards, which means continuing to get experience is cool because it gives you access to more awesome stuff from the Mystic Forge. But what other prominent things unlock at level 80? Well, first of all, if we go to our training, by the time you're level 80, the game has given you enough hero points for free, just from leveling up, not from exploring the worlds, that you can max out every track across your entire class. Which means for us, we can get the last of those gadgets, we can get the final explosives Grandmaster. Don't worry, we will look at these in time. We can train all the way into tools as well, which we've never seen. And voila, we have maxed our class out. So you can do that, and I now have 100 points left over just from other areas of exploration, which we can talk about later. And it's unlocked something for the expansions too, which we'll get to later. So that's perk number 1. And while we're at it here, I will show you as well for alchemy, another trait here. This is what you saw last episode. Self-regulating defenses. We drink an elixir S automatically when we get below half health. So below 75%, we get this for free. Below half health, we get this, and that just automatically procs. So we got HGH, self-regulating defenses, and finally I've got this here as well, protection injection. Whenever something CCs us, we get protection from our alchemical powers for free as well. So that's what I've picked there. So yeah, that's one of the main perks for us now. We can have every line, and the point is we can only equip 3 at once. So we've got all 5 available, all the utility skills. Another thing is Ascended Gear, which we can now equip, and remember this. Speaking of the depth, speaking of the ancient races, what about the dwarves and the Tome of the Rubicon? Remember we made this for ourselves? How about we equip it? So there you go. Just like Kecht, if I come to my hero panel now and I unhide my back piece, we've now got the Tome of the Rubicon equipped. Brilliant. So you'll see that, again, as I've mentioned some trivia before, the symbol and the look of the book is not actually really what the Tome of the Rubicon should look like. This is more to do with a different of the ancient races. But still, so there we go. We can now equip that. And as pink stats, this is the highest stat you can really get in the game. Eventually, the goal for most Guild Wars 2 players is to get everything all pink, all ascended, your weapons, your armor, all the various types of trinkets. But there's many adventures to do that. At least Brack's got a head start here, and that's his big reward for hitting level 80. Really kind of nice. Now, why am I doing it at the Bloodstone Caverns? Well, it's a big prominent place for us to hit level 80, which I'm quite happy with. But here's another thing. In the original game, when you got to find these Bloodstones, and there were a few. There was one here, there's another one out in the mysterious Maguma jungle. There was one down here on the Fire Island chain. There's still 2 other fragments that we don't know where they are exactly. When you got to go to these places, they tended to have weird interactions with death. So if you died on a Bloodstone, it might take you longer to resurrect from it. Or if you died, your soul might get trapped in a soul battery, as was a big part of the story of the original game. Or if you died, you would splash healing out to your allies around you, or everything around you, actually. The Bloodstones had this weird thing to do with death. And now that we've just hit level 80, we just got access to a weird thing to do with death as well. And I gotta show you, and I wish I didn't have to show you this, but it's really best to explain now. It's really the result of some wonky, shoddy design, frankly, from the devs over the years. But let's jump into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the build panel here. And obviously we have our 3 specializations. We have our weapon skills and utility skills up here. But over here on the left, it shows every single ability on our entire class that could potentially unlock. So here's our pistol skills. Pistol offhand, rifle, shield offhand, harpoon gun. And now here we get a section for down skills. So when Bract is downstate, he gets throw junk, which applies the conditions. He can pull people in with a grappling line. He can do the booby trap explosion. When he's underwater, he gets floating mines. He gets the anchor, the buoy. I'm not sure you've really seen these because he's not been downstate underwater yet in the series. But you'll notice here that a 5th skill is now unlocked. When we're downstate, there's no underwater. There's no 5th one. But here, a new ability has just procced. And the game hasn't actually told us that this happened at any point, but it did. And there's no way for me to be able to prevent us from unlocking this when we get to level 80. It will just get slapped on our bars. The reason this adds at level 80 is actually because of storylines way later in the game. And I know everything I'm saying right now feels so convoluted, but much later in like some of the 2017 updates or 2016 updates, eventually we should unlock this. But the thing is, ArenaNet these days, they don't care about keeping anything character-bound or anything making sense for new progression. They just unlock everything across all characters on your account all the time. And so a lot of weird, unnatural crap stuff starts happening, like this. Bract, by hitting level 80, has just unlocked a new skill that he shouldn't have. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The new skill is called the Signet of Agony, and it makes us really powerful in downstate. And I wish I didn't have it right now. I wish I only got it when the story started. But the devs don't care about stuff like that anymore. And it's a real shame. So I'm telling you this now because later in the series, if Bract goes downstate, it's not going to be planned. I'm going to be freaking out and I'm going to be talking about why we're downstate. I'm not going to have the time to give you the whole backstory and trivia as to why we also have a new skill. So let's just pretend we got this new skill that interacts with the downstate when we're close to death because we came to visit this place, the Bloodstone Caverns, where there were special things interacting with death. That makes sense, right, guys? Cool. Let's pretend that's how everything worked out. The actual mechanics of this we can deal with at a later date, but yeah, we just got that new skill from the Bloodstone Caverns, and the real story of where that skill comes from, well, we can talk about that a long way away in the series, but we will get there eventually. So cool, there you go, that's the Bloodstone Caverns, that's level 80, that's Bract, fully proficient in everything engineering related, and the Rotmoths are already back, brilliant. Okay, so good. Even the Tome of the Rubicon we get out of that as well. I like the idea that maybe we pick that up from the floor in there, that's where it had been after all these years. So let's move on, and as we wonder what our Asura forebears may have done there, get to Fort Trinity, and see what's going on with Traherne and what he may have wanted some of these further explosives of tons for. As long as I can get past these Risen. They're really coming here in full force. Oh, look at this road. It's so cool. It's so fantastic to see this route here. You can see it all the way off there in the background. There's actually another one of those fun pads like we saw at the Tequatl fight here that rockets you over towards the fort too. But again, since they weren't technically added just yet at this point in the game, I'll refrain. But yeah, look at that. Oh, so, and you'll notice now that if you do the regular entrance, the proper entrance into Sparkfly, from Sparkfly, you'll actually not walk through the fort before starting the mission, and so it's all kind of natural, the idea of the blue orb getting seated. But here is the battle for Fort Trinity. And with Bract, the third and final time through here, we'll see how cleverly they filter in the dialogue about Ton.
Commander, good to see you. Marshal Traherne is waiting for you.
Why aren't the Asura gates functional?
I'm sorry, Marshal. We can't seem to isolate the problem.
It could be our proximity to ore. Or maybe we've got a saboteur.
This is critical. Without those gates, we're cut off from any reinforcements.
Hey guys, I hope you don't mind, but I brought a mini undead dragon with me.
Greetings, Commander. I was sorry to hear about Ton. He was a huge asset, and much admired.
Thank you, sir. The mission was a success, but that's small comfort to his loved ones. Or me. Ton was my partner, so I take full responsibility. That said, I see you've done well. Fort Trinity is certainly formidable. And from all the activity, I'd say it's growing even stronger.
We recovered a powerful magical orb from the depths, and we have Ton's best explosives. But there have been some disturbing glitches in communication. Fort Trinity is not yet secure.
Die, you moldering fiends! Die!
So you'll notice here, at Fort Trinity, what is Trahan got his hands on? Well, more mega lasers. So yes, the first one, I guess, timeline-wise, would be in Sparkfly, but there are mega lasers, poised and ready and set, looking out towards ore, that he actually uses in the defense of the fort. I mean, there's even mega lasers up there, but I'm not sure that they're really discussed in the story at any point. But these ones down here, certainly so.
They had the orb. They looked like packed soldiers, but then they changed. By the time I realized they were using illusions, it was too late. If they get the gates working, we'll lose them and the orb. We need explosives to get through.
Ah, explosives! I know a little something about those. In fact, we have been working...
I've got all the firepower you need. Ton made these bombs, and he's one of the best.
You're damn right he's one of the best. Hell yeah, so look at his work. Still making progress, helping us out even after he's gone. There's an ample supply of bombs ready to be deployed, tech bombs. I love the thought and the knowledge that some players will collect this and they'll just be like, oh, it's whatever. But we, at the end of this arc, kind of have that grim understanding that the guy who made these is dead. It's kind of beautiful how they don't have to directly talk about it in this instance at all, but we know that now.
Feedback loop initiate.
Oh man, those airships flying in look so good. How cool is that, honestly? Seeing that airship actually land over there, woo.
I'm glad we have the dragon's attention. I want Zaitan to know the names and faces of those who will defeat it.
From the size of the assault force it sent here, I'd say the dragon has taken notice, sir. However, the situation seems stable for now. If you don't mind, I need to find Ton's widow and personally deliver the bad news.
Of course. I had Ton's personal effects sent here. There's a locket that could be a family heirloom. I'm sure his wife would appreciate its return. It's not much, but we have to honor our fallen as best we can. The war and I will be waiting when you return.
I like the idea that we're waiting, that he'll put everything, obviously it's not what they're saying, but the idea that they'll put everything on hold, waiting for us to deliver this news about what is essentially a random member of the Pact, I think. But hey, so there you go. With Fort Trinity saved, we can now move on through and kind of get that realistic approach of, you know, maybe how the place is organized. I also love the thought that the airship that docks in the instance is the very one that we see there, and that's how it actually arrives there. Kind of badass. So, yeah, a sad duty is our next step, to locate Medic Sierra near Squall Cusps. This is one of the only times I can recall in Guild Wars where we hear so much about a character before ever having met them. You know, Sierra could easily have been a character from early Asura stuff, or, you know, anywhere all the way up to now, but she's not appeared anywhere. And I like that. It kind of presents this idea that there are so many faces and names you'll never get to know that are a part of this, and every loss is a tragedy in one way or another. But, you know, to hear her be referenced and spoken about, she feels really cohesive instead of just slapped in at the end as, oh, some trauma, you know, like Ton was talking about her right from the very first moment we met her, which is kind of nice. All right, so crossing the bridge here. We're actually now going to an area of the Straits of Devastation we've not seen before, down south a bit, where there are numerous southern invasions and assault attempts going on. Sierra's actually going to be on a camp, kind of a satellite to the fort itself, to be honest, and not very far away, but she's just down out here. Remember what Ton said, she's a medic, so expect some danger, expect some wounded. All right, hello, Sierra? you out here in the base. Now, there's a lot of weird ways you could break this instance for Beth. I'm going to geek out telling you and giving you trivia of, but we'll wait a second and move on in. So check it out. We got a base, and you notice there's a blue glow on all their stuff. A bit like the orb, maybe, having its influence. Okay, so they're under attack immediately. Sierra is looking wounded, was that? Or sad? One or the other. So yeah, we get an assault of risen undead. The main one on the fort may have been ended, but I like to thought that maybe these are some other forces that have now been routed, don't have any good leadership, so we got to sort of clear them out. Just because the fort was attacked, it would probably also mean that all the other areas have also been attacked, you know. So yeah, let's clear these guys out. Shouldn't be a problem for us, not with the Tome of the Rubicon at hand, not with our new OP stuff. 3 full specializations and whatnot. In fact, they seem to have been cleared out pretty good. This isn't very good. There's a lot of bodies around. Oh, dear. All right. Oh, yeah, look, she was wounded. Revive Sarah. Here she is. Packed medic Sarah. Is everybody okay? Not a very warm welcome. Look at the airship, guys. Oh, look at the airship. All right. Hello?
How long was I out? I was triaging them when something hit me. Hard. Come on. Stick with me while I see to the rest of our wounded. I don't fancy another concussion.
Oh, she's a hard ass. She's actually a lot stronger than I thought she'd be. I thought she'd just be miserable this whole time. Hey, you need any help?
We're too late. This one's already gone.
What about this one? She's so go-get-em, right?
Here's a live one. Open your eyes, soldier. You'll be all right if you can stay conscious.
Hey, good. She managed to get the Norn up.
On your feet, soldier. You'll live.
A Whispers agent. Good to see it. These guys aren't even that appreciative.
Nothing I can do for this one either. Are there any pack troops left alive?
There's a few.
You're lucky to be alive. Come on, get up.
And one more. Come on, this guy looks good.
Never had a chance, poor kid. Dead before she hit the ground.
Oh, every time that she was doing one there, I was mentally guessing if it would work or not, and I got it wrong so often. Okay, Sarah, wow, you really helped these people out. Hi, bad news?
Sierra, I'm here with bad news about Ton. I was with him on a demolition mission. Unfortunately, he did not survive.
Ton's gone? That can't be. He promised me we'd both live through this. What happened? Tell me how he died.
We rigged an Orion bone ship to blow, but the explosives wouldn't go off. Ton went back to fix them. He died to save the mission.
Is that supposed to make me feel better? The war can go on without Ton, but I can't. How could you let this happen? You murdered my husband, you and your pact. Get away from me! Just get away! Get away from me, you murderer! Ton, I'll find you. I swear it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh no. Who genuinely feels guilty here? Maybe we could have rigged it a little bit better. Who knows? He was the one that swam to the ship. He was the one that decided to...
No! Somebody! Anybody! Help!
Oh god, and she's in trouble. Right, so the mission here to find Sierra. Yeah, she runs off in a fit of sadness, of depression. I like how she just tries to abandon the pact entirely. Again, because I think that there's one thing that Guild Wars 2 could do a lot better, and it's the sense that the pact is not required of people, you know? That she came here of her own volition. No one back home is pushing her here. So then for her to say, screw you and your pact, you know, really sort of nails that. So yeah, we're going to run after her. Now, there's a choice. In this instance, we can't actually because of the boundary. But you will notice a bridge that leads to a small island. That's not ore. That's an island between, you know, the waters. But actually, through the pact constructing bridges, they have actually managed to create a land route towards ore that isn't reliant on the Scavenger's Causeway all the way down here to the south, which is kind of amazing. Way back in the day when we heard about the Char invading ore, the march was presumably something like this, and they went all the way around. This water wasn't necessarily here. But, you know, if we can do this with these bridges, it's quite a profound, you know, feat of engineering. And Bract, as an engineer, of course, appreciates that. So, yeah, let's move on. Let's deal with these bruises. Now, I mentioned some ways to break this instance. Oh, there's a few, guys. If you don't enter the camp from the main way. If you, like, go around the back, you can prevent the Risen assault in the first place, and everyone's just standing around. And then, when Sierra runs off, if you're really proactive, if you use, like, super speed, swiftness, you use your rifle to leap forward, you go as fast as possible, you can actually just catch her here on the roads and basically skip the whole mission, which of course would be breaking it in a way I don't want to do here. The idea is we're chasing her and we go through these caves. We're in a place called Lightfoot Passage. And she's just charged on past these undead and got herself into hot water. But yeah, if you're quick enough, you can just skip the whole thing. You can probably do something if you play co-op as well, where you have one person trigger something and then the other person waiting in position. But yeah, it's kind of nice, and I think the idea might be that you're supposed to get, like, lost in the caves, wondering where she is and what's going on. You'll notice they don't spawn any enemies, though, and it is a beautiful, cool place. Look at the bats and stuff down here. Are they bats or birds? But yeah, obviously we get the green starburst. The reason I say that is because it feels like some of the story steps were made before the devs decided to go with the green starburst, and so you might find some weird design at odds with itself.
Feedback loop
Just my impression of it anyway. But yeah, we take out the undead, we follow her along into the cave, and you'll find an old packed dock here, and an A-bomb threatening her life. It seems to have knocked her over and doesn't care about finishing the job. Look at how cool that is. That's such a great screenshot right there, guys. Man, can you imagine getting that in 4K? Go first person. Beautiful. So yeah, we have to kind of save her. And maybe it was the A-bomb she freaked out about. This place is called Cadragan's Jetty. And I think the idea might be she was trying to commandeer some kind of vessel to just flee the Pact entirely here. And she knew about this dock, but no one was here to defend her. So, an A-bomb boss. Unfortunately, the devs didn't really design it to have any special abilities or do anything, so it just insta-dies. Let's put that up to the fact we're level 80, shall we?
Sierra? Please, you have to return to camp. If you want to honor Ton, you have to live. Don't die just so you can be with him. I know he loved you madly. You were all he talked about. You and the life he wanted you both to have.
Life? What life? What do you know about him or me? Just leave me alone. Wait. What about his mother's locket? He wanted me to have it. It was all she had when she died. And now it's all I have left to remember him. You saved my life. I thank you for that. But I will never, ever forgive you for taking Ton from me. Just leave. I'll find my own way back.
And so there you go. A really short, simple little mission. Sarah here on the dock is crying. We can try and console her. Leave me alone. Just go. You should have saved Ton. Or let me die. That way at least we'd still be together. That's a crazy thought that they'd be in the mist together, right? Now all I have left is this locket. Ton wanted you to live, Sarah. Shut up. You don't know anything about him. He fought your battle and completed your precious mission. And you repaid his bravery by getting him killed. That's not how it happened. He gave his life for Tyria. It wasn't his to give. It was ours. Mine and his. We shared it. And he threw it away for you and Traherne. Damn you both for this. And damn the Pact. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'll go now. So, a lot of people get really moved by this story. I'm not going to try and bag this video down with too much criticism of the game. I've been trying to refrain myself as we go through, but I do have a ton to say about this here. First, again, I love the impulse and the idea of what they're doing. We literally have a story there, guys, where we are not forgiven. That's it. She leaves, and she does not like us, and that's not the last time we'll see her in the story for what it's worth, but there is no happy ending here. There's no, oh, someone died, but we console the wife or whatever. She's left to her misery. She is not happy with the Pact, what they did, what Traherne is making us do, and you know, we're just left to linger on that. That's a beautiful thing the devs are going for there, and I will compliment that to no end. However, I have to say, the Ton arc, you've seen all the instances now. This is it, guys. We're level 80, and we've just triggered the next story step called Temple of the Forgotten God. We're going to get on with that in just a second here. The rest of the arc, you've now seen until it's so much more bare bones than the other ones at this point in the story, than the Blue Orb, than all the stuff with shelling her own guys. Every single instance, if you really look at it, it feels like major time crunch. No real bosses, no real fights, no real challenge. I mean, Guild Wars 2 is kind of pathetic for giving you a real challenge in terms of actual gameplay for the core game, and it certainly doesn't do itself any favors here on this story arc. Really lamentable. The other thing I would say narratively, now I like the idea that Sarah doesn't, you know, find any peace and stuff. I think that's great. But also, let's look at those 3 arcs we just did. And again, there's a fair bit of criticism to levy here. The idea is the greatest fear, right? And they present 3 different fears. One of them is to let someone die, let an innocent die. One is to dishonor your allies, and the other one is to make someone suffer, make another person suffer. Now, and if you're a guru at the game, you'll know exactly which is which, but if you actually think about it, the devs majorly copped out on this. Majorly. All three of those just boil down to people die, right? It's not actually, oh, my greatest fear is that I've dishonored my allies, and so now I have to deal with that. They cop out of it and say, oh, no, you don't really dishonor your allies. Yes, you are dishonored because of what you did, but the real tragedy is you kill a ton of your allies. People die. The tragedy is someone died. Another one, that you make someone suffer, well, that's the Apatia storyline. But that could easily work here for Sierra, couldn't it? Sierra is the one that suffers the most, and it's her suffering we're left to linger on. But no, making someone suffer is the Apatia storyline, because she supposedly suffers in the cage. But they don't even let you just linger on the fact that Apatia suffered in the cage and then, you know, is left crippled mentally and physically from it. No. They kill her off anyway. And then here, letting an innocent die. Well, what? Ton is the innocent that dies? Ton wasn't necessarily innocent. He was a willing participant in this battlefield and in this theater. Does that make him still innocent? So, like, the devs just, they didn't do this part of the game at all. It's a real lowlight for me overall. I mean, it's got some great ideas, and the world building and stuff is always, as always, phenomenal. And, you know, it's Guild Wars 2, and we'll always love it at a baseline for that. But, not a fan, really, of Chapter 7, forming the pact in terms of the greatest fears. But never fear, guys, for that is now behind us. We are level 80, and that has given us access to the final chapter of the game. Part 8, Victory or Death. And we're starting with a meeting with Marshal Traherne back at the fort at Caraval that we talked about before. So, what possibly could we be doing from here? We have had a real victory against Zaitan. Where do we go from this? 2 real victories. We're actually going to attack him? We're going to go to Ore? Well, let's see. Tons of scouts and supplies and troops and things around. Hello, everyone. Up here we find Traherne with the old favourites, Efut, Dern, and Winnick.
Too long. Tyria has suffered. We gather now with newfound purpose. Zaitan's servants storm our homelands. It is time to bring the battle back to Ore. This tide will wash over Arar and cleanse the dragon's corruption. Together, we will prevail. Let the ships sail. Let the troops march. And let us find victory!
A stirring speech, Traherne.
Absolutely. You've turned into a real war leader, Marshal.
Now if we can just keep the impetus you started, then we'll have a chance.
Thank you, friends. May fortune bless you. Good to see you. Let's get this briefing underway. I wanted to talk about Ton's widow, Sierra. I understand she was inconsolable. Grief does terrible things to people. But this is war, and war manufactures grief. Ton joined the pact with open eyes. He chose a dangerous profession. He knew the risks, and accepted them. Sierra may never forgive you, or me, but in time she will see. Ton's sacrifice helped save thousands, maybe millions of lives. He chose to die a hero, and the heroes of this war will be remembered and honored forever. There's someone I'd like you to meet.
Oh god, we're going so rapidly through stuff here. So, brilliant speech there from Traherne. Hopefully, Sierra will see that eventually. I love the use of the word millions there. Millions of lives. It really helps you to remember Tyria is a vast place. And when the Elder Dragons threaten it, that's a vast, you know, that's a big threat. And so everybody clears out. We're going on the offensive, guys. Traherne sorted all of that out. I mean, it's really kind of impressive what he's done here. Someone he wants us to meet. Who could that be? Huh? Well, Traherne over here, just standing in a corner with nothing around. You alright, dude?
Our visitor may cause alarm, so privacy is paramount.
Right.
Sire, it's now safe to reveal yourself.
Ah, it's Sire.
Greetings, Marshal Traherne. As you've requested, I've come to honor my oath.
Excellent. Let's speak with the commander and give you an assignment.
Ah, so it's Sire. Now, Bract has never met a Largos. He, as a member of the Order of Whispers, may be privy to Whispers' plans to outreach to them. He's never met one, and Sire, you know, there is no common ground here. But she has just joined the core main story, guys. Every single character, regardless of choice, will find themselves here with Traherne, and they will find themselves meeting with Traherne's allies, Sire. I am not accustomed to these public rallies before a mission begins. Words do not interest me. Tell Traherne I'll be ready when action is required. Oh, listen to that. People of very few words. Come on, that rally was awesome. He did very well. Traherne, what is the plan here? I'm not intimidated, I swear.
Thank you for your patience, Commander. Allow me to introduce the revered Sire Al-Rashid.
In the name of the Concordat of the Tetios houses, I greet you, ally of my ally.
It's an honor, Sire. I've heard that your people don't meet with land dwellers.
You speak truth. I have long owed Traherne. Now at last he has called upon me to honor my oath.
Scouts have discovered a sixth temple in Or, a lost shrine to a fallen god hidden underwater in the Strait of Malediction. Abaddon, the human god of secrets, was cast out of Ara by the other deities, and his name was erased from history. Very little remained. Zaitan craves something inside that temple, so we must get there first. Sire will accompany you as a guide.
Tell me, Commander, can you fight? Is your oath made of steel? You'll need all your skills to travel with me.
I have yet to meet anything I couldn't overcome.
Intriguing. I look forward to this, Commander. Until then, may your steps be relentless.
Oh boy. Yeah, we're getting some good stuff. A sixth temple. So, you guys should understand, first of all, that the Orions, the humans that lived here when this nation was ripe and prospering, they revered the gods majorly, massively. They cared enormous amounts about the gods, and so that means there are many temples and large shrines and statues and places of worship to the gods. Even after the gods left Tyria, the humans who lived in Ara kept the streets pristine and clear and safe and continued their worship of the gods to a great extent. Now, back when Or was happy and fine, they had 6 gods they cared about. But eventually one of those gods was cast out and attempted to be erased from history, frankly. Why that happened? Well, that's got a little bit of something to do with maybe the Bloodstone we were at before. And so, the idea is that the Orions had all their temples, but eventually when one of the gods was cast out, the temple was cast away too. And now we find it deep underwater, flooded on the fringes of Or, and the Pact has just unearthed it. Regarding Ton's death, his widow Sira refused to take leave of absence until her current tour is complete. She may hate us, but she understands how important the Pact's mission is. Wow, look, she stayed. I just hope she doesn't do anything to endanger herself. Regarding your current mission, the temple we seek shouldn't be difficult to find. The ruins lie within the Strait of Malediction. I understand. I have more questions about the mission, however. Of course, what do you need to know? How do you know Sire Al-Rashid? We met on the seas outside Or. We both had difficulties to overcome, and we were able to join forces to do so. When it was over, she declared herself in my debt. That's vague. Can't you give me more details? I'd rather not. At least not now. Sire considers it a private matter, and I agreed to keep her trust. Just a little insight into the future here, guys. The devs have never revealed this story. I hope one day they will, and there is still the opportunity for them to, but it'll be tricky, and I wonder when we will ever get that, if ever. I have more questions. Tell me more about the temple. It was ancient even before Or sank. The god Abaddon made war on the other gods, and he lost. His temple was cast down into the depths as a result. Even in ruins, it's still a place of power. There's a beautiful irony to the fact that his temple was cast out and flooded, guys, because he was the god of water and secrets. And then when he's cast out, his temple is buried in secret beneath the waves. How beautiful is that, honestly? And we're going to go there next episode. How cool is this? If you want more details on the Abaddon story, you should definitely check out Guild Wars 1 Nightfall, because it's all about that. What's the mission? You and Sire to investigate the sunken temple of Abaddon and discover why Zaitan's minions have displayed such a keen interest in it. I suspect they're seeking something powerful. Oh my god, and now an Elder Dragon is interested in the place? Guys, this is so cool. The devs know that it's a beautiful, magical, lore-heavy realm that we're going to when we get to Or, and the second it starts looking at it, we already get some massive lore bombs and great locations to visit. Very cool. Sire says, now, Commander, we shall see if you can take directions as well as you give orders, and if you can keep up. I have a question before we start. You may ask, I may answer. What's your connection to Traherne? That is between he and I. I live according to the dictates of the Tetios Compact, with honor and without mercy. My presence here is in service of those dictates. What is the Compact? The ruling houses of the Lagos convened and agreed upon a set of principles to guide our people. That is all I care to share with you. Be glad I have said this much. So again, guys, it's very rare to get any information about these, so enjoy it. Maybe one day we'll get more. Tell me more about the temple that you know. Because you're an underwater race, right? So you must have seen this. A wretched place. There are mysteries within that normally would appeal to me, but pursuing them has never had a clear benefit. Until now. Oh, and to match all these amazing stories, the Elder Dragons, the gods, with this new enigmatic, mysterious race, the Lagos. What a beautiful instance we've got coming up. I need to know I can trust you. Are you planning to hunt me? That would be a distinctive honor. But no, you are part of this mission to the temple, and long as I am beholden to Traherne, that mission is my top priority. Fine. I won't worry until after the mission. Okay, so there you go, guys. That is the establishment of the final chapter. By the end of this chapter, Victory or Death, we will be concluded with the core game. I'll try not to spoil how things will go. So cheers, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Join me next time for not just visiting the depths leading to the Waters of Ore, but also one of the 3 assaults, that being the Northern Meta, which again will be another opportunity for you guys to play along with us. We're going to see exactly how the Pact tried to get onto the mainland in one of their 3 invasions next time. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you there.
Captain, I've been examining the velocitator, and it is clearly malformed. I'm not sure there are any gyroscopic inverters at all. And don't get me started on the clack valve capacitors. They are wholly inadequate. Did you build this thing while asleep?
Wani, don't make me come down there. You're here to fly this thing, not comment on it.
Yes, sir. I'll keep my opinions to myself. I'd hate to trouble your simple mind with facts.
What did you say?
I said that I'd hate to trouble your brilliant mind with tracks. There are several doing their job.
Right. Well, carry on then. I don't have time for your pontificating.